The memoku sings a tale, resonant in root, trunk, and branch. The mother tree cries forth a beckoning summons from the dreamlands. Do you accept her call? Aoyama, a world littered with beautiful landscapes, shrouded in a mysterious past, and fraught with perils and danger. This place is home to creatures familiar to you and I, but who have become more than they have ever been before. In an age yet to come, the insects of our time have now risen up to dominate the lands, and have become the apex peoples and cultures the world over. They collectively call themselves the Sakuta. They seek to understand the world around them, both spiritually and historically, as a lack of a persistent written language has rendered the truth of their origins almost entirely unknown to them. However, there are fragments of their past that still persist, preserved by their pheromone memories, the memoku, and in echoes from the dreamlands. While the gods of their pantheon still speak to them in times of their most dire need, it is uncertain if even they can intervene against the evil forces that have rooted ever deeper in the dark places and shadows of their world. The Antfolk of the Fora, while diverse among their tribes, are unified in many of their traditions, especially their love of building and storytelling. But their strengths lie also in their differences. Where the Lean have taken up mastery over wild beasts for their domestication, the Igi have focused their efforts into perfecting their combat skills, especially in tandem with their intense and deadly venom. Fortified in their great mountains, the Fora of all tribes prove themselves resourceful, hardy, and inventive. Digging and settling themselves deep into the trunks and root systems of the forests, the termite folk of the Tera spend their days mining and crafting amber. This precious substance carries a power to greatly harm the monstrous creatures scattered across Aoyama, the children of the amber, created by Zek, the fallen Asatari. So the Tera craft this material into weapons, which are greatly prized by the other Sakuta across the land. But when they are not laboring in the mines and forges, they have a deep passion for merrymaking and celebration with food and drink. High in the tree canopy sit gilded and glittering fortresses, where one can see swarms of Valkyr encircling, ever watchful of the skies and ground alike. These guardians serve the queen of the Melif, only one of many clans of the bee folk, collectively known as the Apoi. However, the honey-brewing clan of Apoi Melif are not indicative of traditions shared by all their people. Their cerulean cousins, the Osim, do not adhere to a monarchy, instead building communes of family units. However, the Osim do not brew honey as the Melif do, which is highly prized by most Sekuta. The Apoi are renowned warriors and clever strategists, often holding great influence over the lands they inhabit. Atop hill and mountain peak, the monk-like folk of the Manta meditate and ponder in their hidden monasteries. Masters of the art, a proprietary hand-to-hand fighting style, they spend much of their day focused on the small and detailed intricacies of their bodies' movements, preparing against the event in which they must defend themselves and others. But when the evening falls, they turn their gaze to the heavens, crawling inside of their observatories, charting the stars and their movements to interpret prophecy and revelation. Long have they waited for the coming of the monarch. In taverns and inns alike, it is not uncommon to hear the melody of an Idom, the grasshopper folk. These nomadic bards travel to and fro, seeking an audience anywhere and everywhere they go. They carry with them music of the memoku, the ancient memories of the pheromone put to song and verse. In conjunction with their singing, they release pheromones, creating a mind-altering and immersive song experience, putting the listener deep into the emotions of the piece. As a consequence, this ability can hold great power in battle, as a skilled Idom can sing a song so horrifying, the enemy will flee at the very sound of it. Hidden deep in the forests lie groves of consecrated trees, home to the butterfly folk of the Row. These groves become the grounds of the Row's colleges, where they study the sacred practices of their magic, a divine power gifted to their people in ancient times by the Mother Tree. This magic carries with it a responsibility to mediate tension and bring peace to the lands where they are able. In their raw, caterpillar stage, they study the theory of the magic until the time in which they are ceremonially wrapped in leaves in similitude to the Mother Tree, and endure the trial of patience and pain, finally emerging winged and imbued with the power to practice their sacred mantle. But hidden in dark and dank places lie twisted and corrupted Row, who have long since turned away the light and grace of S, and were equally abandoned by their deceiver, Zek. The moth folk of the Het, now stripped of their arcane power, spend all their day delving into rituals and experiments through their complex alchemical magic they call the Craft, encompassing realms of fire, braided wards, and the wretched Hollow, among many others. These dark covens roam seemingly aimlessly, focused only on their goals, relying only on themselves. The world of Colony is vast and sprawling, with something new to discover at every turn. And you can discover it all by visiting our website at www.hex.studio and following us on our social media. We have multiple ways to experience the world of Colony planned, as well as a few which have been and are currently being released. Out now is a soundtrack of completely original music available to listen to everywhere, and our Colony lore shorts, which are brief glimpses into the world of Colony. As for upcoming works, we are developing a tabletop role-playing game wherein you can assume the role of a Sekuta and work together to live out and create your own stories across the millennia of Aoyama's history. This RPG will feature an original system that combines traits from both traditional RPGs and deck-building games to create a unique role-playing experience. We have plans laid for novels, online serials, and much, much more in the future, but you'll have to stay tuned for more news on that at a later date. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.